Sure.
Can you speak to that?
Well, China imports globally. China has higher import penetration, meaning imports as a percentage of its economy is higher in China than in the U.S. So there's a fair amount of import activity from the Europeans, from Japan, from Korea, Australia, America. The foreign companies play a big role in China's economy. Now, what the Chinese will say, which I think some merit, is that, but much of that is just manufacturing components, so we don't get full value out of that. We're simply assembling. We import maybe different parts of a shoe and some glue, and we'll assemble it and sell it, so we'll get paid some wage rates for it, but we don't really capture the profits or the total benefit of that shoe. I'd say this. I think the emergence of China and China's economic role in the world poses a number of challenges, not just for the United States, but for the Europeans, Japan, everybody. And it is altering the way that businesses operate around the world, and it's a challenge to a lot of economies as well. So I think I agree with some base points that the caller just made. But I'd also say that figuring out how to work and how to sell to China, how to buy from China, how to cooperate with China is going to be much more beneficial to the United States than any kind of isolationist approach. China, about 15 or 16% of the entire U.S. GDP is imports. So we're talking about 1/5 or 1/6 of the U.S. economy is imports. Within that 15 or 16%, about 15% of that is from China. So about 2% of our total GDP is imports from China. So China is putting competitive pressure on some U.S. manufacturers, and it's forcing people to adjust prices. But it also gives enormous benefit to U.S. consumers as well. It's the advantage of an open society where men and women are free to buy and sell as they see fit and compete fairly in the international marketplace. That's what we're aiming for. The shipping cost for a container from, say, Shanghai to Los Angeles is only something like $2,000 for an entire container, for a 20-foot container, which means the actual price of shipping of an item in there, say, call it a microwave oven or something, might be a few dollars. So it's not an extraordinary price. These cargo ships are massive and can include special designed ships for containers that will have 5,000, 6,000, 7,000 containers on them. So it's reasonably inexpensive. This is one of the great innovations in transportation and logistics in the last 10 or 20 years, that it just doesn't cost that much. You can go, and I live in Hong Kong, I can go on Amazon in the U.S. and order a book, and it'll be at my desk in a few days. Now I'll have to pay a FedEx or UPS charge for coming, but the point is the world's a lot smaller than it was even 10 or 20 years ago. 85% of our economy in the United States is a domestic economy. 85% of what we buy is made here in the United States, but 15% or so is imported. Of that 15%, only about 2% is from China. So about 13% from all other nations, 2% from China. So there's not an enormous amount of products from China, but the China products are sometimes the least expensive, and so you have the term in business of the China price, that it's not so much that Chinese steel is flooding the U.S., but what happens with even a little bit comes in, and even 2%, is it drives domestic prices down. So domestic steel workers and steel factories are very unhappy about even 2% penetration because they've got to now compete. But who wins from this? Well, the U.S. auto manufacturers win because they're paying less for less expensive steel. The U.S. appliance manufacturers win because they're paying for less expensive steel. So the consumers of steel win, if you will, but the manufacturers or producers of steel lose, if you will, in that scenario.